Welcome to Mo's Market Pulse. I'm your host, Sara Mokaram, founder of Mo Digital Solutions, where we help businesses hit their revenue goals and thrive. On this podcast, we talk with industry leaders about their business, market trends, growth strategies, and what's ahead. Today, I'm thrilled to have Tilen Tomakić, co-founder and CTO of Salesqueze. Salesqueze is a visual platform that allows complex product sellers to digitalize and automate their sales processes. So thank you so much for joining me today. Excited to dive into your journey and all of the innovation happening. Let's start by giving our audience some background before we get into market trends and business insights. Can you tell us a bit about your personal journey? How did you get into tech and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. Actually, I always driven around like product development and interested in this stuff. And pretty much with my co-founder, we saw the repeatable pattern of building agency work or like random clients. But somehow we saw that a lot of them needed some kind of e-commerce configurator for manufacturers more specifically. So the idea came to like create a more purpose-built platform for it. So yeah, from that point, we could say that Salesqueze idea was born, and we are each year we are more and more nailing the, let's say, our ICPs and market that we want to like conquer pretty much.
And so, can you expand a bit more on the inspiration or problem that really led you to starting this company?
Yeah, so pretty much it's always interesting challenge when you talk with a client. They want to build like a web configurator for their complex products, and it actually takes a lot of time talking with client and discussing how things work behind the scenes to set up, let's say, the basic idea, what be the user experience, buyer experience on the web. So this was actually the repeatable pattern that we saw. Actually, at the end of the day, okay, everybody is selling different products, but the problems behind the scenes are always the same. Everybody is struggling with how to update even the prices at the end of the day to enable them to easily update the pricing. For example, COVID happened, everybody needed to like ramp up the pricings, and nobody knew how. They maybe needed to contact development teams and so on. So even that was like an issue. But more in generally, everybody was like based on usually on Excel files, So for complex products, salesperson might spend, I don't know, maybe up to 1 hour figuring out the end price. And yeah, how can we now actually transfer this business logic into our product? And even before our product existed, how can we actually automate our internal process so we don't spend so much time with each client reinventing the wheel? So that was like the key point here also.
For those unfamiliar, what does Salesqueze do, and who is your typical customer?
Yeah, so pretty much our typical customer is our manufacturers that are selling more complex products that are harder to represent actually on, let's say, web today. So it's not a classic e-commerce issue. So we actually provide them the configurator builder experience. So they can use our platform to build with no-code approach whole configurator experience, put it on their website, and actually we support whole sales flow behind the scenes. So from the lead generation to quoting and ordering. So it's everything is happening at one place, and buyers are also more happier because they get personalized experience and instant pricing and quoting instead of waiting for, I don't know, salespeople to respond via email or maybe this old and ugly contact us forums, you fill some data and then you wait for like response. So actually that's the problem that we're solving.
Nice. So let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture for a moment. What are some of the key trends you're seeing in the manufacturing and B2B sales space today?
Yeah, so actually what we started seeing is in COVID times, everybody was scaling and providing a lot of like configuration options a lot of variations of their products. But now the issue is that like things are calming down, and it's actually hard to provide all of these variations of four possible combinations. So the trend, what we are like seeing is that it's going into simplification. So instead of like offering 100 products, let's maybe focus on 40 products that are really selling, and focus on the good configuration experience on these products. So that's where also our expertise come in to like guide our clients and help them to achieve better sales results. So yeah,
How have
that's
buyer expectations changed in recent years, especially when it comes to product configuration and quoting?
I mean, it's the buyers are expecting pretty much the same user experience that are used to buying, I don't know, any other more simple products. So the expectation is to have this nice user interface that are friendly, that are understandable immediately, and not that you need like to waste 10 minutes configuring stuff,
Hmm.
because nobody has so big attention span anymore. So yeah, pretty much that's the focus, to sell like this. I don't know, the trend in B2C was what these customizable socks,
Hmm.
Actually, that's the thing that now the big complex products also need and buyers expect from manufacturers to achieve. Um,
Right.
so yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah. And from your perspective, what sets Sales Squeeze apart from other CPQ platforms or digital tools in your space?
Yeah, we really put a lot of efforts in our visualization tool and this user experience part. So to provide a good user interface tools, so manufacturers can build it, and also to guide our clients towards the best possible solution. So it's not just like here's the tool
Right.
and then whole rainbow comes up. That might not be a good experience. Also guide them and provide a specific flows and paths for them to use, because at the end of the day the product is no code, so that means that it's not the engineering team of theirs that's using it, but like normal people, that might not have so much experience from like building the web product. So yeah, that's
So
would
when
be.
you say guiding through the process, is it actual people from your team guiding them through, or is it the system and AI agents sort of guiding that process?
Yes. So currently we are guiding them. So we have an implementation team that really gets on, and we have a whole onboarding process. Of course, because we are no code, clients can do them by themselves. But usually, because they're like bigger clients, we do the onboarding process. What are we actually, of course, with AI trends today, also doing is how we can put expertise of our employees into AI agents, so we can speed up actually onboarding and so on. So that's a key part with AI that is coming
Yeah.
also in Salesqueze.
Your goals.
Yeah.
So you've raised funding and are clearly on a solid growth trajectory. So I'd like to dig a little bit into scaling the business. What's been working best for you in terms of go-to-market strategy? How are you getting your clients and getting in front of them to even show them your product?
Yeah, so okay, I might not be the best person to speak on that front, but yeah, we're startups, so that means that we're trying a lot of options. I don't know, classic LinkedIn contacts and advertising, or via referrals. Like you do one client, and it's a whole, let's say, chain effect, and somebody knows other person. So yeah, pretty much I can't tell you like concrete plans, since these are more marketing and my co-founder's area. But yeah, I think it's the key point here is also that my co-founder is really involved in the sales. So that helps a lot. So one of co-founders is involved directly in go to the marketing team. So yeah, that shows a lot, because one can really like knows the product, and when speaking to the even bigger clients, the effect of co-founder explaining things, it's yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a huge benefit. As a founder with product and tech background, how do you balance product innovation with driving customer acquisition and really balancing, the client's desires or requests and still moving forwards?
Yeah, so at the start, like 5 years ago, I'm not going to lie to you, it was harder because, of course, you have 1, 5, 10 clients and you actually learn with them and we grew with them. Now it's like we need to look at the bigger picture and we actually implemented processes to say, okay, if 20% of clients need this or this feedback is a good idea, then maybe we go and implement it. So that was one key of points to like really put their process. Otherwise, the emotions are involved and, we would like to support everything, but you can't with the growth. But also like product wise we started very broadly. So SalesQueze was way more open like 5 years ago in a technical term, like generic platform. So that allowed us to do actually a lot and align with a lot of clients. And now we are like, let's say, cutting down the features and really going towards the pivot that we want to achieve. So yeah, I would say the generic parts helped us a lot with these issues. So we were not in a situation that we needed to say to the client, no, it's not possible. We
Right.
always find some way to like achieve it. But yeah, you sometimes also because we're like growing, we found that even if the client said like we need this, it turns out after we talk with them, and like discussions that actually they need something else. But you need to talk with them, and they discover things. And at the end of the day, sometimes we find out both that actually everything's already in platform. You just need to like look at from the other side, because
Right. Just
special
maybe.
manufacturing works, it's custom processes everywhere. But at the end of the day, because we have a lot of clients, we can elevate about that and see the common points in everything. So
Right.
that helps us a lot, pretty much.
So I know you've worked closely with your customers, as you mentioned, and especially manufacturers navigating complexity in their sales process. So, what are the most common pain points or inefficiencies that manufacturers face before using a solution like Sales Squeeze?
Yeah, so pretty much one of the biggest problems are quote errors. So sales people are like creating like whole configuration quotes, what goes in there and what options. But at the end of the day, because they have very open configuration, even if they have configurator tools, very open and loosely based, say rule-based systems or constraint-based systems, if they have it, they have a lot of errors. I mean, even if you have like 5% or 10% of quotes with errors and you sum up all the costs that incurred because of it, that you needed to do a whole cycle with buyer again, God forbid that it was already in production and then at the production line you figure out, hey, that's actually cannot be built, that happens a lot. And when you add all these costs and numbers, yeah, it can be like in millions. So that's the biggest pain that actually we are solving because we can really put all the rules, and because rules can be maintained by like manufacturer by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
it really promotes them to maintain it, but usually they have excels, so that's even worse, because what we found is that each salesperson then has own excel version.
Right.
There's no standards anymore, they update something, they share it to the other team and say, hey, you're using this excel version, oh, the latest one is now here on the drive, and yeah,
Yes.
disaster.
Yeah. Can you share a real world example of a customer transformation or a moment when your platform made a huge difference for a client?
Yeah, so a lot of times what it happened and had, for example, they were based, their pricing was existing in Excel. They actually created their own, some kind of Excel configurator version, but because they like added this complexity over 10 years, they were like tunnel visioned in these Excel formulas and thinking not what's the best for them, but how they can solve it inside of the Excel, because that's what they knew. So the first step for us, for example, in this transformation was actually going with them, talking what's actually your product, how business rules work, what's actually the key point here, and how actually do you calculate your price. So we figured out that actually they didn't even know how if they're working with the profit or not, because the prices didn't relate to like materials and cost of labor anymore over these 10 years of patches, you know. So first goal and transformation step was like transformation of all their data into something that's clear, understandable, and manageable. So we simplified this 10-year legacy of Excel rows, and then actually with them step by step show them how to put this in SalesQuiz or transform their existing data to fit there, because it's not just like building inside of SalesQuiz. Usually what happens is that we help them guides how to actually transform data, even if you like just like evolve your Excel table and clean them and think differently. It's the first step, and then we can import it. So yeah, that's a big moment. Since if you're migrating or changing the system, you might as well like do a little bit of cleaning, you know.
And what are some misconceptions prospects might have about visual CPQ tools before they see them in action?
So I mean, one of concerns is that they're usually used to like big ERP systems where things move slowly, but we move quite fastly. So like the timelines are shorter. That's one thing to explain. But one of other concerns is usually like integrations. Can we still integrate with our existing ERP systems and so on? We actually like first developed generic solution. That's the part that is, oh, it's always saving us, you know, with this even wishes from the clients, because we have a universal solution and then we can automate it, so we can integrate pretty much everywhere. But yeah, it's not obvious because we don't list every possible integration, you know. So yeah, only when talking with clients, it's like we see.
So, looking ahead, it's a big year for you after your recent funding. So, I want to talk a little bit about roadmap and growth vision. What are your top priorities for the next 12 months, whether it's on product, team, or revenue side, or anything else?
Yeah. So like product wise, one of bigger like things for us is actually automation even inside the company, because we are preparing for growth and scale even like globally, because we have now clients even from United States, so it's everywhere. But one of even like of course AI buzzwords today, we are also preparing AI agent to hopefully like help salespeople, manufacturer salespeople do the work. Of course, there's a lot of challenges because, you know, in manufacturing, you can't afford the mistakes. So they really need to work. But yeah, that's the like product wise. Otherwise, like, of course, hiring at our stage is also a big thing, and growing the team, since we need to balance all the possibilities. So yeah, that's why also like this part of, let's say, automating platform as much as possible and making it even easier to use, because anyway our like end users, I mean manufacturers, they might not be sometimes used so much of these portals and web systems. Sometimes people are really like in these old ERP systems, it's clunky user interfaces, you know. So there's a lot that we can also do on onboarding.
So, I know you mentioned the United States. So, you guys are global.
Yeah, pretty much. We have manufacturers from all the world. And even if we don't have like manufacturer from some country, the end buyer might be. So it's really global operations for us. Although like we just like have contact with manufacturers, of course, that's our clients. But yeah, end users can be from anywhere. So that's also like nice challenges product wise, because we started locally, then grew inside of Europe, and once we expanded across the globe, the also like architecture and infrastructure wise things change.
What are key metrics for you that you track to really measure progress and success?
Yeah, so pretty much we have customer success team that's like after a couple of months is in the talks with the manufacturers how it's going, and we talk about their sales increase, how actually is going. Can we do something else like marketing wise? Like, do they need to promote it more, or maybe the configurators are still a little bit too complex, and that's actually a thing that we then keep an eye on, how good the configurators are actually performing. For example, maybe configurator has 6 steps and it's too much because buyers are dropping off at the third step, and then you see this metric like drop off rates for this client, and we can get into the talks and say, hey guys, maybe change a little bit. We advise you to like don't ask this and this option because nobody's actually changing them, so why bother asking if everybody is picking the red color, for example. Don't provide this option of choice because it's just like too much for the buyer, and so on. That's like the really important ones that we can focus on improving actually clients to be even more successful.
Just one final question here. What advice would you give to other tech founders navigating niche industries or complex customer journeys?
I mean, I will give advice from my CTO standpoint that for me personally, I should implement some processes internally in the company sooner, and give your team more ownership, trust them more, because I mean, at our stage, like startup stage, you really need to build a good team, so you're able to trust them, because there's a lot of options for growth. Sometimes you need to have a clear head so you can see these options and trust the team to take the care of the rest.
For those who want to learn more about Salesqueze or connect with you, where's the best place?
Just go to the salesqueze.com, and that's usually the best place to get in contact. It depends on what are you looking for, like for solution or just like tech tips. And yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into Mo's Market Pulse. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, and join us again to hear more insights from leaders coming up on future episodes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you.